My name is Samaria, and this is my best friend and co host, Miosha. And today we're back to review Married at First Sight, season 16, episode 1. But before we get into that, please make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And thank you so much to all our wonderful subscribers who got us to 1,000 before the end of last year. Um,
Yes.
okay, so we are going to start with the order that they showed up with
Yeah.
Kristen. Was it Kirsten?
I think it's Kirsten because the I comes before the R,
Yeah.
but we'll learn it as the season goes on.
Well, okay. Kirsten, who is 32, um,
Hmm.
is paired up with Shaquille, who's 31. And the names that they gave them, she's Miss Grid Expectations, and he's the devout workaholic. So, what did you?
Mm. All right. So the first thing I thought about Kirsten is she's absolutely beautiful, like very stunning. I liked her energy. She seems energetic but calm. I don't
Yeah,
know. That seems like the opposite, but I get good energy from her, but also kind of chill too, not too much. She doesn't seem to be too intense,
yeah.
like some other people we've seen. But yeah, the first thing I thought too about Shaquille was that he was a nice looking guy too. And I'm like, oh, I feel like when I see them next to each other, I feel like they're gonna make a nice looking couple. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel uneven, if that makes sense.
I agree. I hope they'll find each other attractive. But just like you, I said, her whole family is beautiful. Like her mom's cute.
Okay, her mom was giving me Angela Bassett a little bit. Like she's more slender in the face, but that's who I saw when I saw her face.
Okay, I didn't see that, but I did write down her mom is so cute.
She is. She is.
So, I'll start with her because she describes herself as picky with everything, and I don't know that picky people should be on this show. We've seen it backfire quite a bit before. Like I think this is something to be picky about, like who you're gonna get married to and spend the rest of your life with. I definitely think that's something to be picky about. But that being a personality trait kind of bothered me a little bit.
Mm.
I don't want to say bothered, but it's like, okay, that's something that we should maybe look out for in the future. Uh
So I'll say to that, I agree in that I think if this is something that you know about yourself, like if I knew I was picky the way that she described herself, I don't think I would have come on this show. But what I will say though is that I think picky people do get married. I think you just have to decide on some things not to nitpick, if
mhm.
that makes sense. Like, do you want to be flexible? I think is the real question. I don't know.
I'm all for being picky in this area. Not overly so, but I am all for being selective. Um,
Yeah.
I'm picky about my food. I've been picky about this. And then I was like, okay. And then Shaquille, as soon as he started talking, I knew he would be religious. Like, I feel like anytime somebody says trials and tribulations, like they either grew up in church or around church or something like that. So, I was like, yeah, he's probably going to be really religious. And then he talked about how important it was for him to have someone who faith was important to them as so.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down that that's something that they're going to have in common cuz she mentioned about someone being into the church and faith, and when he started talking I was like, "Oh yeah. I see that that part is going to click." So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
Esther Cal, so I guess he talked about why they paired everybody up. And I think they were the ones that made the most sense to me. So he talked
Mm.
them together because they're both driven and ambitious. Education was really important to both of them. So I think when you have those like checklist things out of the way, at least, at least those like I don't want to say minor things, but those are things that are out of the way so we can really focus on building chemistry and attraction or whatever it is. So I think that's really good. But then he said he sees them as a power couple. And I just want people to stop putting people on other people completely. Like, I do not like that.
Yeah, it's like everybody wants to be a Jay-Z and Beyonce, I guess. Then we
Yeah.
got Lemonade, so we know how that. But yeah, so she said that she wants someone who's like she is. And so I understand the concept of it in terms of what she talked about looks and education, but I wonder if that sentiment goes a little bit deeper as well. Like, is she going to be okay with someone who's just as picky as she is? Like, what is her response to being around people who's just as picky as she is? And then also, it's like, okay, well, on things like personality, like, she didn't really talk about those things, but are you looking for someone who's just like you?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm interested to see where that goes and
Okay.
how deep it goes.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on them? They're going to be the first ones to get married, so I'm really looking forward to that. But
Y- Yeah, the only other thing was I love how supportive and her family was and the energy that they brought. His friend's reaction though was so funny. Like I feel like that would have been me if I didn't know about this show and my friend came to me and said that they were going to be a part of this process.
yeah.
One thing that was interesting though is that he said that he has always been in long distance relationships because of work. So
Hmm.
that's a big jump. You know, we've seen that in the past where people go from not being with someone in their same city or even state to living and being married. So that's going to be a big jump for him. And then another thing that I wrote down just to wrap it up is that he kind of described that he felt like he needed to be pushed into marriage. Like he didn't say that he didn't want to be married, but I guess it just wasn't happening. And so he figured, well, if I'm just pushed, then I can't run from it. So I don't know. I thought that that was interesting that but he did follow it up and said that, oh, like I feel like I'm ready. I really want this. So I don't get the vibe that he was the person who didn't want to be married.
Hmm.
But the way that he described it up front, I was like, huh. So I don't know. Aside from this process, and maybe he didn't have faith that he would get married. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I don't know that's going to be an issue, but she's 32 and he's 31. So even though they're around the same age, of course, it comes down to maturity, right? So or enough? Is she, a young 32? So what's that going to look like? And I think she mentioned not wanting someone who was bald at the last minute. But I'm just like, he's so handsome. I hope that that's something she can get over. But why do they not ask these people, hey, are you okay with someone who has no hair? Like they need to start asking that because a few seasons ago,
Mm.
I don't think you watched this season, but it was Houston. They paired somebody up with someone who was like absolutely no to a bald head and gave her a husband with a bald head. It ended up working for the show and they broke up after. But yeah, so hopefully that's not too big of an issue.
So I will say though, like the way that that came up at the last minute,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm sure they asked aesthetically, what are you looking for? But
Mhm.
I don't know like how detailed people are when they're describing the people that they want. I would have never thought that someone with a bald head would be an absolute no.
Hmm.
But yeah, that like I when she was like, "Oh, I want someone with a low cut or what," I could see her saying like, "Oh, maybe not long hair for a
Okay.
guy like that." That's a unique, I think, thing for a man to have to grow his hair like really long. But the bald head thing I hadn't heard before.
Really?
So
Yeah.
only because I guess you could meet someone and they're not bald and then they become bald. So I don't know how that works.
Right. At point.
Like I guess so. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought that that would have been a thing because people can't control if they're bald or not. At least to my knowledge, like technology hasn't made it that far.
It's definitely a thing. Um,
Oh, okay.
you want to move on to Dominique and McKinley.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. So she's 25 and he's 34. Uh she's an old soul supposedly. And he's he's an introverted dreamer. I don't know, like these titles that they put on them. Anyway, so she tells her friends, and this is why I think I was questioning the old soul thing, is because of maybe her friends, because they're like, "Oh, you're gonna be a hot wife, and he better let you have girls' nights." I'm like, "Y'all, this is a marriage. Like, this is not her going on vacation, or like some type of, I guess it is an experiment, but like it's a marriage, So I thought
Hmm.
how her young friends responded to this.
Yeah, I was wondering maybe the old soul comes from she mentioned that like, oh, I would be dating these guys and wanting to move forward, but they just didn't seem like they were in the place to move forward, and they just wanted to play around still. So maybe she's thinking she's an old soul because she's been ready for a serious relationship or a marriage,
Yeah.
and she still wants to have her girl time. But the other guys who are her age, 24, 25, I mean, yeah, they're kind of doing what people do at that age. So to her, she's an old soul because she's ready to move forward.
Maybe.
But then we find that her mom was the one that signed her up for the process,
Hmm. Yeah.
which is, and she was like, "Well, I really wanted to do it." She says her mom is her best friend.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know, which I'm all for mother daughter best friend dynamics, but I'm a hold on that. We'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
So another thing she said was, "Oh, I want a permanent cuddle buddy," which again is really cute. Maybe it's the age thing, but I am concerned about McKinley a little bit because he's only been in Nashville for 4 months. He's living with a family. So he didn't move and like live on his own. He's living with people. And I'm like, should he be doing this show when he doesn't have his own home? So for me, that's a question mark with the experts. Like, okay, why is this man on the show when he's not even out on his own yet? Like, what's going to happen if they work out? That's going to, I think, be an issue. Uh,
You're more easily to be a runner because you're kind of in a transient state. Like
mhm,
even if you're financially stable, if you don't have a lease, if you don't own anything there,
mhm,
if you're just not, I guess, permanently established in a place, like you could just easily be like, oh well, I'm out and I'm gonna move. You're
yeah.
probably more likely to. But yeah, that was concerning for me as well. If he had said like, oh, I just got here 2, 3 weeks ago, I kind of understand, but that means that you moved and you like immediately applied for the show, or did you apply for the show before you moved? I have questions, McKinley.
Yeah, for real. So other things that I think are questionable. I don't, and when I say questionable, I don't mean they're a bad catch because of these things. I just mean like when you're entering this type of experiment, when we're weighing how likely this is to work out for you or not. These are things that will probably come into play. So he says he's more shy, and then he becomes more extroverted and like starts to talk, whatever. He's a college out, a business owner in the cannabis industry. His story about his ex-girlfriend.
We have questions.
I just have questions about him, period. Like he's a huge question mark for me. I don't understand him being on this show.
So he said, just to recap, this
Yeah.
ex fiance, I think he said he was with her for a few years, 4 to 5 years, randomly sends him a picture of her hand with a ring on it, but it
Hmm.
wasn't his, a ring that he gave to her and was like, oh, I'm getting married.
And he was like, he said he was so confused because he's like, oh, that's the ring that she wants. So it seems like in his mind, they were moving towards marriage and he was going to start looking for a ring. But then she was seeing somebody else and got married. So I don't know about him and
I,
that's his living conditions.
I don't know. Something about that story is giving me maybe this girl had been giving you a good amount of time and you maybe were dragging your feet.
Hmm.
And if you're not married, you're single.
I wonder if they were actually in a committed relationship. Because why would you like? I've never seen that a day in my life. Like maybe he thought they were in a committed relationship, but she was his girlfriend, but he wasn't her boyfriend. Is what I think is going on. So I need more information on this.
Yeah, they definitely gave us a cliffhanger on that one and we want to know more. And I
Yeah,
don't know, I feel like sometimes when people present stories like that on this type of show, like Alyssa had a story kind of similar, weird, I don't know. That's just it's not promising.
yeah. What I really don't know about though is the age difference. So she's 25 and he's 34. That's 9 whole years, but it's not like it's 9 whole years like I'm 40 and you're 49. It's 9 whole years where I'm like maybe still having fun with my girls, having girls' nights and, having my friends refer to me as a hot wife. And you are maybe supposed to be a little bit more established, but because he doesn't seem to be, maybe it'll work. But yeah, I think that age difference could be a detriment to their relationship.
Yeah, I will say too. I don't know. She's only 25. Who am I to say who's ready for this type of process or when? But she said, like, oh, I just haven't had the best of luck and things just hadn't been working out. But if she's 25 when this was filming, she's gauging her dating experience off of, call it, 19 until that point,
Mhm.
which I don't think is that long. And I think a lot of young people in that time aren't maybe necessarily dating for marriage. So I don't know. I Part of me is kind of like, girl, it hasn't been that long. Like
Well,
you're jumping to a process like this kind of soon. I don't-
yeah, but I think a lot of people do get married in that 25 age range. So
Yeah,
other friends who've gotten married, and so now she's like, I could see that for me. Like I know a lot of people who get married 25, 26. That seems to be
it's
a,
true.
so maybe. But Pastor Cal says that they put them together because their attachment styles are similar. um, like, okay, like neither of them wants a needy spouse, but I don't really think most people want needy spouses. She wants someone who's older and more emotionally stable. He wants someone who's outbringing to bring him out of his shell. And
Mm.
with him, like maybe he is emotionally stable, but I question the stability in other parts. So I don't know. We'll see. We're only going off of what the producers have shown us, so I don't want to be too judgy with this episode. But these are just the things that come to my mind. I see 4 people in here, but we have what 2 likes. So if the
Yeah.
other can give us a like, that'll be great.
All
All right,
right.
on to Nicole and Chris. Nicole's
Yeah.
Chris is 36. She is Miss Serving the Sass, and he's Mr. Nice Guy. What are
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I could appreciate a bit of sassiness,
mhm,
but I don't know how I feel about people bragging about being sassy. I
mhm.
think if that element is there, I'm like, okay, they'll kind of get to know that piece of you. But it kind of feels kind of braggish, like she's bragging about it a little bit. And I understand with the show, they're like, oh, kind of talk about yourself, explain yourself. But I feel like she talked about it a lot. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
I kind of understand. So she's from New York. She's from Queens,
Hmm.
and she thought the dating scene in Nashville would be better. She she describes herself as a B word, and she's I'm always serving up the sass. Her mom's Italian. I think her dad's Jewish,
Hmm.
very much Italian, and so I wonder if their personalities are gonna match. So it's kind of giving Alexis and Chris a little bit, except Alexis had that kind of like soft space for. I mean, not Alexis and Chris. What was that boy's name? Alexis and Justin.
Justin. Mm.
Yeah. So like she had kind of a soft space for him, especially at the beginning. And so I wonder how sensitive Chris is and if Nicole can be like that soft space for him or if she's just going to be like sass the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, she did say that she's willing to be told like when she needs to calm it down or simmer it down. At least that's what she's saying right now.
Yeah, is he going to tell her though? Like
Yeah.
as Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. like laid back, is he going to tell her or is he just going to take offense to it?
Yeah, because she said later on in the episode that she was looking for someone to keep her in check, which I kind of also take that as you're looking for someone that you can't run over.
Mhm.
But like you said, is he gonna have, quote unquote, and I'm not saying that it needs to be this way, a backbone to be able to
Yeah,
stand up to her or stand up for himself?
that's literally what I put. I hope he has backbone.
Hmm.
Sensitive. I just don't know how that'll balance out with her. So
Yeah. He claims himself to be Mr. Nice Guy. Um, and we'll get to like the Bachelor part where I have a few more notes on him, but I feel like he's ready for this process. I don't know.
was he
Is
the
he?
divorce to him means failure?
I believe so.
So
Yeah.
anytime someone on this show says that, I'm like, well, good luck because the likelihood of you getting a divorce is really high. Yes.
Hey. But she did say that she's really willing to make it work. She says she's flexible. She even says she's willing to teach what needs to be taught, to have good intimacy. So she said, like, in so many words, divorce is not an option for her either.
Yeah. And that's what Pastor Cal said. He says he thinks they're a natural match, which I don't know about natural, but because they're deeply committed. So I hope it works out. Pastor Cal says he can be a safe space for her. And of course, my question was, but can she be that for him? And then he said that the guy wants laughter and goofiness. Chris wants laughter and goofiness, and they both love dogs. So I don't know. To me, it's like
Yeah.
a
No,
good pairing.
I don't know. We'll see on that one. I think I don't know. This is giving me kind of like intense, like Mark a little bit, and Lindsay. And I'm not saying that she's going to be like Lindsay, but that intense energy. Because even at the Bachelorette, I think some of the other girls kind of picked up on her intense energy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if it works if you pair someone who has just intensive energy. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see if the experts got it right this time.
Okay. So do you want to move on to Jasmine and
Yes.
that
Um,
32? Eris is 39.
Which, by the way, 39 where?
I
I
know
was shocked.
he does not look 39 at all.
He's drinking from that Pharrell fountain.
Right.
They don't figured it out.
I know. So yeah, it says that she's a queen without a king, and he's reformed and ready for love. So
Mm,
his cousin said that he's really picky. Like as soon as he said I'm getting married in 2 weeks, his cousin was like, "You're picky." So that's interesting. He got. Go ahead.
I was gonna say so. Well, I'll get to the cousin later. He said that he was ghosted at 28, and it hurt, and he's had his guard up ever since. Um,
Let that go.
One, let it go, but I think also the cousin's reaction,
Hmm.
I think, may have given more insight to kind of what he's been up to during that decade. Because you say 28 and you're 39, you're
Yeah.
probably going into 40 when this is filming. So you're going into 11 years of hurt from
Yeah.
a breakup. The one time you decided to open up. So I don't know if this process is the timing that you need maybe to be guided out of that
Mhm.
guardedness.
Yeah. Also, the fact that he was like, yeah, I mean, I have ghosted people plenty of times, and then I got ghosted once, and I was like, whoa, like, sir, come on, I need you to do better. And the fact that he's still telling this same story at 39 concerns me. I'm like, how much growth has taken place between 28 and 39? Like, are you able to acknowledge, okay, I was wrong for ghosting people? I just needed to see more from him. And of course, it was just one episode. So there's only so much they can show. But I'm keeping my eye on Mr. Aris. I don't know that I love this match as much as the first one that I said could possibly work, which was Kirsten and Shaquille. But yeah. I,
Yeah, and I feel like his cousin, I think her name was Felina. One thing that she said up front that I think kind of told more about this whole 11-year period was that he lacks experience
yeah.
in like a traditional dating relationship. And so it's not saying that like you needed to have dated a whole bunch of people, but it sounds like you've just been maybe hooking up or
Yeah.
like
Really.
having those. Yeah, and so you're jumping from, oh, I mess around and do what I want to do for
Mhm.
that length of time to, oh, I'm in a full blown marriage. Like it doesn't even sound like he's brought a girlfriend around
Yeah.
like that.
Absolutely. Uh, so I thought it was funny how she told her family. playing Never Have Ever, and her family's reaction was so funny to me. Like
It
they
was.
were into it. I loved every minute of it. She said that she's close to her family, so hopefully that's something that they have in common. He's to enjoy his cousins. Like there were two cousins at the table who he told, so hopefully he has
Hmm.
with them. She said her issue is that she's stubborn and doesn't necessarily prioritize her partner. Like she doesn't make time for them with work, which was interesting because she's had long relationships. She said like she'll date for 3-4 years, and then when it's time to get married, they don't necessarily want to get married.
Well, according to the aunt, though, so yeah, she might be stubborn and works a lot, but the quality of these guys didn't sound. I mean, the aunt was reading them down.
Yeah,
So I wanted to hear more. Auntie, tell us more. What these
right.
men's been up to? And so, yeah, it seems like whoever she had been with, that these relationships were a mess
Hmm.
and not anything promising. Plus, it didn't sound like they were ready to move forward, anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Because he looks so young, I don't necessarily think this is an issue, but I do know like sometimes people who are in their early 30s want to be careful with how high in their 30s they date. So with him being 39, I hope she's accepting of that. Um, yeah,
yeah, I will say his energy feels youthful.
yes.
And so, but at the same time, sometimes that can kind of work against you because when people hear your age, they assume that you're going to act and conduct yourself in a certain way. And so when it doesn't match, it's like, oh, but you're 40 or whatever. It's like, why are you acting like you're 30 or
Yeah,
whatever? So yeah, she's absolutely beautiful too.
no, she is.
Yeah.
I just don't. When Pastor Cal was saying why they put them together, I was like, I don't. It felt like a whole lot of nothing. So it doesn't seem like there were really good reasons for them being put together, except that they both want to end up with someone who's black. And actually, I think and Airris has done some self healing. So I don't really know about the reason they were paired. So that has me them a question.
That cousin though was not backing down about him going through this process. She does not think that he's ready.
A lot of times when the family's not supportive, they don't work out. But also when the family is supportive, a lot of times they don't work out too. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think the cousin clearly knows more than we do. And I think from what she's seen,
mhm,
she's not in agreement with him moving forward like this. Like she wants him to like, okay, date someone and
yeah,
then get married. But
yeah.
don't just jump into a marriage.
Which
So
for most people is necessary.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gina and Clint. So Gina's 35 and Clint is 40, which I think makes the oldest person to be on this show.
Yeah. Yep, he's 40.
Is spontaneous styling and slaying. And he is seeking a first mate or something like that. I don't know. I could have done a little bit these titles if you ask me. Y'all need to hire me. I'll come up with some titles for you guys. But
Yeah.
when she told her was really sweet to watch. Like you could tell she had been updating her mom on the process because it was
Mhm.
a surprise to her mom. Her mom was just excited about it. So I thought that was really sweet to watch her mom being excited for her. And I guess
Mhm.
35 and traditionally people don't get married later, whatever. But I thought it was sweet to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, so I liked everything that I saw about her. The one thing that um I think will be interesting is that she describes herself as being spontaneous and adventurous, but I think like whenever people describe themselves in that way, I feel like sometimes when they try to pair them with someone who also says that about themselves, it doesn't always match up. So, um she has her version, I think, of adventurous and spontaneous, and we'll see if that matches up with his. So,
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I was actually talking to someone recently, and he was like, both myself and my fiance are family people, but that means really different things. Like for me, it means, oh, y'all can stop in anytime. For her, it means, okay, if y'all call and say to be there in a week, yeah, come through. But they drop in, it's like, what are you doing here?
yeah.
Both close to their family. So yeah, like spontaneity and any of these things that we describe ourselves as It's all very subjective.
Yeah, and he describes himself as the exploring adventurer. I
Mhm.
would say he's more outdoorsy. He was even described as being an outdoorsman. So it'll just be interesting to see how that connects with her because I do get spontaneous and adventurous with her, but she seems very polished, well put together. She's very ambitious. She's building her own salon from the ground up. Girl. Um, but we'll just have to see like how that matches up to his definition of being an adventurer and then his expectation of how much she's supposed to be involved in that because the pictures they showed of her, which looked absolutely beautiful, she was having herself a good old time in Italy, but it wasn't climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
She was on the Amalfi Coast drinking a mimosa. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say
I,
the
I
least.
I hope he gets more interested because I did feel like the way that they pitched him was a little bit boring. And so when they got the bachelor party and he was Mr. Life of the party, I was like, oh, okay, maybe there is more to him. But yeah, everything that they said about him in his little, I don't know, 30 seconds to a minute clip, I was just like, this is a little bit boring.
Yeah. So when he met up with, I don't know if they were his uncles, cousins, friends to say, hey, I'm getting married. The guy said they were more afraid for her, and I don't know if they were joking around.
I don't think they were.
So I feel like there's a lot more there because later on we'll get into the bachelorette and bachelor meetups or whatever. And, he was kind of saying like he's not that flexible. At least that's what I got. It's like, oh, this is what I need. And then if she's not that, it's not gonna work.
She needs to check those.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so once again, I don't know why these super picky people come on a show like this where you don't get to vet your adventurousness, to the level that you expect. Like,
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and move on to the bachelorette, the meetups and the bachelorette party? I think you have more notes on this than I do.
yeah, so the one thing that I wrote up about the ladies meetup, it was like when they first met each other at the bar, uh was Nicole was commenting on Dominique being too young. Um And I think that those sentiments are fair, but I will say that I could see her maybe clashing with
Mhm.
some of the ladies, Dominique specifically. Um, but just her energy is very intense. And so I don't know if she's just going to come across in the confessionals a certain way and then be different in person. But I don't know the energy the way that she was talking about Dominique's age. I just don't know if she's gonna do that in front of her, and if she does,
Yeah.
I don't know how well that's gonna go over.
Yeah, especially like with these seasons where everybody's meeting up every single week, which I wish they would just kind of get rid of so we could focus on the marriages. I don't think that helps. I think it's just too much outside commentary on what you're trying to build, and that could steer you in a different way. Like if someone else is going through a similar struggle, now you're internalizing how they're handling that issue, and you think it's okay for you to handle that issue in your marriage the same way. And yeah, I don't really like the music that much, but
And then one last thing, just about the
yeah,
girls meetup was Kirsten commented on Dom, like, "Girl, you need to be at home cooking and cleaning and ready to rub your man's feet or whatever." And so I don't know. I feel like for this to be the first episode and them not to really know each other like that, I feel like y'all are very vocal in
very
these confessionals. And I understand they're not showing up to be friends, but y'all are going to be filming together for a while. Um, so yeah, this is just going to be interesting to see what the dynamics will be with
yeah.
both the guys and the girls, but mainly the girls.
Honestly, like the whole Dominique being too young thing, like marriage isn't one size fits all. Young people get married all the time. People younger than 25 get married and it works out. Like we did a whole episode on, getting married too young, and that couple is still married, right? But I just think it all depends on who the partner is and how much each person is willing to give and take. So hopefully it works out for her. But we'll see.
I will say though, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it was Nicole that said earlier in the episode though that she wished she would have just met her guy at like 22. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I confusing? Yeah, it was a scene. One of the ladies said, "Oh, I wish I would have just met my guy at like 22 and married that person and been done with it."
Hmm.
Now I feel like it was her, but I could be wrong. But
Yeah.
if it was her, I'm like, oh, that's hypocritical. But maybe I'm wrong. Y'all tell me in the comments.
Okay. So the bachelorette party, they enjoyed themselves. I will.
That they did.
Those girls enjoyed themselves. And of course, Clint being a ladies' man was just so interesting to me. Like, I don't. It was just so weird that he was the one, who was out there like that. And I think Airris too was having a ball.
Well, it shouldn't be surprising because both of them said that they were intimate supposedly the night before they found out that they were coming on this show. And then I think Chris was basically like, yeah, like I've gotten numbers since I signed up for this process, but also didn't want to lead those people on knowing that there was a chance I could get picked.
Yeah.
So, like Eris said, whoever gets Chris is going to be a very lucky woman because he seems to be very ready for this process. So we'll see.
We shall see. I don't have too many other notes. I'm excited to see what the weddings are. I don't have the highest of hopes, just based on past seasons and based on how these matches are looking right now. But you can't really judge by the first episode.
So the last thing I'm gonna say on the guys was that Eris said that he only put his dating app on snooze.
I don't know. Do you? Okay. Mm,
If you're getting legally married at first sight, you
yeah.
should delete the apps. Like this is like Katina and Elijah Wan. Like it should be deleted. You
And it's
remember how she still had it?
fine. She didn't even know she had the app there. He
Well,
intentional.
it was a similar concern. So I'm not saying that she had it on there to still mess around. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you should probably go through, tie up all the loose ends, like make sure everything is where it needs to be
Hmm.
because you're getting married. You're not getting engaged at first sight or dating at first sight. Like you're jumping all in. So yeah, that was kind of like, I
Yeah.
feel like you should just delete all the apps and then because you still would have to go through the process, get divorced,
Yeah.
then yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna be married for a minute, so it's not like, oh, I don't want to go. Like, what you don't want to lose your profile? It's just like, okay, come on. I will say though, the preview in terms of like Kirsten, I thought she would be attracted to him, but the way she like swerved and gave the cheek kiss,
Hmm.
I
Maybe
don't
she's
know.
just more conservative. Like she's talked about religion and him being all that God, all that she prayed to God for. So maybe that's what it is. It's like I don't really know.
Hmm.
And so that's what I think maybe the preview could be misleading. You never know.
I hope it is because I feel like they would look really nice together. Yeah, I feel like it will, and I mean, who knows what's below the surface? We don't know yet. But from an
Yeah,
aesthetic standpoint, aside from the bald head thing, but I mean, poor guy, he can't control that.
that is too funny.
Oh.
But yeah, so we will be back next week. We'll probably post the time on our yeah. So
Come on, Deandra, join the ride.
but
Come
they
on,
are
just
tiring. Like if this wasn't my guilty pleasure, I probably would have been done a long time ago, to be perfect.
yeah.
So yeah. And I don't think we can expect much. In fact, we all know what it is at this point. Like
Mm-hmm.
not to expect love. So
Mm.
I'm surprised if that comes, but I don't have high expectations.
Well, I say still join the ride and at least watch our recaps. If you don't, if you want something concise, at least keep coming back.
Yes. And
Yeah.
we also have a podcast episode that is out right now. We put the video up on our YouTube channel, so I'll put it at the end of this video. And you guys should definitely check us out. Yeah, probably still watch.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will be here next week and we'll post the time on our community tab. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and we will see y'all next episode.
Bye.